Imagine, if the Nile River had never existed, perhaps ancient Egypt would never have been born. The scorching sands of the desert would have remained lifeless without the flow of the Nile. But this river did more than water the land. It nourished the very soul of mankind. Each year, when the Nile flooded its banks, it was not seen as destruction, but as a message of renewal. Crops would grow, cities would rise, and humanity would write the story of one of its greatest civilizations. Today, we journey back more than 5,000 years into a time when the Nile was not merely a river, but the heartbeat of human history. The Nile River begins deep in the heart of Africa, traveling nearly 6,600 kilometers, making it the longest river in the world. As it flows into the deserts of Egypt, it becomes a lifeline in a barren land. The ancient Egyptians called it the line of life. Each year, when the Nile flooded, it left behind rich, dark soil, silt that was perfect for farming. It is for this reason that Herodotus, the Greek historian, once said, "Egypt is the gift of the Nile. Without this river, there would be no harvests, no cities, and no towering pyramids standing against the horizon." The Nile allowed Egyptians to master large-scale agriculture for the first time. Wheat, barley, and flax were their staple crops. Through canals and basins built along the river, water was carried to farmlands in an irrigation system that was centuries ahead of its time. Beyond farming, the Nile was the highway of trade. Boats carried grain, gold, stone, and papyrus across Egypt and even to faraway lands. The Nile was not just a river of survival, it was the artery of commerce. The Nile was deeply woven into Egyptian religion. They saw it as a divine gift. Hapi, the god of the Nile, was believed to bless the people with fertility and abundance. Each flood was considered a sacred act of his generosity. Osiris, the god of life, death, and rebirth, was also tied to the river. Legends said the waters of the Nile were born from the tears of Osiris himself. Along the banks of the Nile, the Egyptians built their greatest architectural wonders. Stone and supplies were transported across the river on boats. The pyramids of Giza, the temples of Luxor and Karnak, all were made possible by the Nile. Without the river, no stone could have been moved, no workers sustained. Every monument carries within it the legacy of the Nile. Daily life revolved around the Nile. Children played by its banks, and women collected water for their homes. Papyrus, grown along the Nile, gave the world its first paper, ushering in a culture of knowledge. Songs, dances, and festivals all celebrated the blessings of the river. The Nile was not only the center of farming, but also of warfare. Boats carried armies from one city to another, and the riverbanks became fortresses of defense. When empires like the Persians and Romans sought Egypt, their first target was always control of the Nile. The Nile was more than a river. It was the first teacher of civilization. It showed humanity that water is not just survival, but the source of knowledge, faith, architecture, and culture. Even today, the Nile remains the heart of Egypt, and its message endures. Life, like water, must keep flowing. That is its true power.